So without then further ado, I would like to then start the conference with our keynote session. The keynote session will be given by David Rogers of Siemens, and his presentation is Leading Digital Transformation in Electronics. Your digitalization strategy deserves a thorough approach. David?
Okay, thank you very much, Dave. Apparently in the agenda there was written Dr. Oliver Türk will speak, but unfortunately he has some health reasons to stay in Germany. But however, I was working with him at some projects, so I'm happy to actually also to talk on this topic. So today the topic, as Dave said, it's more about a digitalization strategy. I think today and tomorrow we will hear a lot about the technological implementation, but when we're talking about an approach which needs to be thorough, means it needs to be holistic over all disciplines of digitalization of your value stream, and this is what I like to showcase today. So when we're looking at the drivers of digitalization of electronics, of the innovations which were made over the past year or past decades, I see three different eras which started with the computing area. When we were looking into the computing area, it was the mainframe computers, even took into personal computers. Then last decade we came into the connected area, which is related to iPhones, related to phones. So everybody has a mobile device, which was dramatically increasing the demand of electronics. And now we're thriving into the digital area, or the digital wave, which means Internet of Everything. Internet of Everything means we have a connected fridge, we have connected automated tallying machines, we have connected smartwatches, and so forth, and so forth, and you name it. So in the end, we're talking about a market which is $3.5 trillion already. But it's interesting that Accenture says, if you're not going into digital, digital is the major reason why half of the Fortune 500 companies disappeared since the year 2000. So you need to follow the trend, you need to follow in order to stay ahead of the game. So what are the drivers of the electronic markets? When we're looking into this, it is, for example, small electronics. Yeah, I mean, 10 years ago, nobody could imagine ever that Apple become the biggest watch manufacturer worldwide. But now we're there, yeah? And with increasing capacity, with increasing power electronics, this is possible to have electronics in your pocket. Smart devices, yeah? Recently, I attended a panel where they were saying, if a phone would be built with the capabilities of today in the 80s, we would be like a 30-feet phone and 8 tons in weight. So this is what we had back in these days, but now we're having smart devices, we're having devices which are actually do all the computation for you. Device ubiquity, so data centers are increasing dramatically because everything goes to the cloud. So, and last but not least, connected systems. And when we're talking about connected systems, we're talking about for example, car-to-car communication. Yeah, when you're looking into cars, before you had 1-2 PCBs, and now we're looking into vehicle-to-vehicle communication, and it's already true. It's already existing in Arizona, for example. So. This kind of trends are actually forcing the electronics industry to converge, to actually transition from manual assembly. And this is one of the Siemens assemblies back in the 50s. So when we're talking about cycle time, we say like, okay, conveyor belt, please increase the speed. And when you're talking about increasing productivity, put more ladies on the conveyor belt, and this is, there we go. Yeah. But nowadays, when we're talking about increasing productivity, increasing our output, we're looking into an optimized production plant. Yeah? And this is a picture of our plant in Amberg in Germany. And here we're talking about, for example, 75% of automation. We're running one product per second. We're running electronics products here solely. And how did we achieve this? This was, since we are looking into the drivers, what is driving us? It's speed, it's getting time to market, new product introduction decreased. It's flexibility, because we are also having a lot of changeovers. Quality, as well as increasing productivity. So by means of digitalization, we were able to increase our productivity in the same footprint, the same building, 14 times within the course of 30 years. And this is where digitalization was helping us. So the question is, what is digitalization, and where should we start? Is it Industry 4.0? Is it the cloud? Is it artificial intelligence? And a definition I like very much is digitalization is actually the means of using digital technologies to transform business operations and help to turn data into value. Because we don't do digitalization for the sake of digitalization, we're doing it to actually turn data into value, to gain more productivity, to gain more output in our production plants. So when we're looking into the value stream as of today, so how does electronic manufacturing starts? It starts with product design. So you take the product, you design it, DFM, DFX, you name it. These are the things we are doing in order to actually build our design of the product. Next step is the production planning. Where's the capacity? Do I have the capacity? Do I have the mechanical capability here as well? Next step is the production engineering, setting up the line, and also setting up the SMT, and so on and so forth. We're going into production execution, running the production via MES, and last but not least, we're looking into services, which could be, for example, the maintenance, the quality management, and so on and so forth. It's a service to the lines rather than a service by itself. So this is the value stream as of today. And when we're looking into digital projects, into product data management, as of today, it's rather thinking in silos. It's rather a manual handover of the product design, a manual handover of the production planning, and so on and so forth, from discipline to discipline. We call it domains. So in the end, what we are not having is a single source of truth, and the data gets manipulated, and in the end, manufacturers must connect and enrich the digital thread from product design down to services to achieve the next level of manufacturing innovation. So very interesting, I think this is a study by Capgemini, and Capgemini was saying, or actually during the poll, they figured out that 60% of manufacturers are not able to actually maintain this digital continuity, which means product design or production engineering is not involved in product design, or there is not much of sharing here, which actually, for example, best example is design for automation, design for manufacturing, that you put screws from the top or from down and not from the side. So they are not involved in there in order actually to improve this. So the question is, now we're at the advent of digitalization, so where to start, yeah? So what creates the loop? So the holistic approach means like to look into what are my capabilities, what are my major gaps, how can I close them, and so on and so forth. So in order to get an impression where you are right now, since we're all from the electronics industry, I actually created a small poll. So just let me get out of the presentation. So yeah, you can see this. So I created a poll where you go on www.menti.com and you use the code 231990. So I have three answers. Answer number one, for how is the digitalization today addressed? Digitalization is a top management concern. Our digital strategy is aligned with our business strategy throughout all operations. Option number two is digitalization is addressed independently from various departments rather than silos, then connected. And the last option is, in my company today, there is no digitalization strategy existing as of yet. So if you like to attend this, would be very helpful. I just give some moments. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Just do now. I'm just curious to see an answer here. So first results are coming in. Oh, very nice. Okay. All right. So I think we can see a trend that digitalization is mostly addressed, but rather in silos than connected. But also to a certain degree, it's also top management concern. So yeah, I mean, really interesting to see the result. Thank you very much for your participation. I'm happy to see that it is really also a top management concern. So, people are waking up now. Okay. Yeah. So in the end, it's really interesting to see, since we're here at the Industry 4.0 Connect Forum, and people are actively engaging already in activities, which I'm really happy to see here. So thank you very much. So what can Siemens add? So Siemens is not a digitalization, it's not a consulting company. However, since we are doing manufacturing of electronics, manufacturing of motors, manufacturing overall, like a lot of contract manufacturers, by ourselves, we have the expertise. And we were also able to transition our own company to the extent that we can say we are successfully in digitally transform it in more of our 160 factories. So what I like to present to you today is our digital consulting framework, which consists of the understand, the plan, and the implement level. So understanding means we are actually formulating our digitalization strategy formulation. Planning is going into the business program launch. So we're setting up a PMO, we are setting up the actual budget, and last one is implementing, which is the integrated systems and solutions. So here we're actually going into the execution. So it is important while setting up a digital strategy to actually work on both ends. On one hand side, you're implementing already low-hanging fruits. And on the other side, understanding, so setting up a long-lasting strategy for 2 to 3 years, which is implementing, but also showing the management quick wins in the implementation level as well. So a strategy is just as good as its KPIs. So when we're looking into KPIs, it should be tied into your business results. It could be what are your KPIs, whether it is first pass yield, whether it is increasing productivity, whether it is decreasing scrap rate. So as long as it is not as long as it is not tied into KPIs, it's difficult to measure it, to make it tangible. So in order to provide business results to management, it's important to actually tie it into KPIs. So I would like to go today into the understanding level, into the digital strategy formulation level, which is basically the why, the what, the when, and the how. When we're talking about the why, it is focusing on what are your what are your industry drivers, why we actually want to digitally transform. It could be from a business scope side, but it goes, so it could be economically, it could be driven by competition, and so on and so forth. Important here is that it is aligned with all stakeholders. So digitalization in design not necessarily means the same than digitalization in production engineering or digitalization in actually operations. So here you should set up a joint understanding of what digitalization is. The next step is the what level. So the what level is focusing on where is my current state, where am I, and we're actually using a maturity model to identify where you are at the moment, and then we're laying it with so-called digital enterprise building blocks. So we're looking into what is capable in the market from a technology, rather from a technology side of point of view than actually solution point of view, and we're understanding where is your gaps, so we're identifying your gaps, and based on this, then we're going into the when level. The when level is actually setting your priorities, setting your where you actually want to start, where it actually is a sensible start to actually set up projects, and the last point then is the how. So the how is looking into the program alignment, and this is where you actually tie it in back then with your KPIs, with your business strategy, and so on and so forth. So the why, the what, the when, and the how. From this framework, we're actually using also, so we need a methodology, and this methodology we are using for the why, for example, a TIPS framework. A TIPS framework is focusing on the trends, implications, products, and solutions, so we're setting up a workshop with you to identify those. The next is the what. So what is focusing on a digital enterprise solution map, so it shows you all the different tools which are, or function blocks and scenarios which are applying to your industry. And also we are setting up some kind of systematic function diagram of your infrastructure, and of course high-level roadmap, as well as solution cards, and last but not least, this is so-called X matrix, and this is the actually alignment and review of strategy, scenarios, projects, and KPIs, that your project is still aligned with your business results. Looking into the digital strategy, digital enterprise solution map. So this is the centerpiece of the actual strategy solution roadmap. So as you remember, I was talking about project design, about production planning, engineering, till the services, and this is the actual value stream. And so what we did is we take the value stream and we're actually putting it into single building blocks. So what is actually essential here in the building block? And the building block consists of functions. So how does this look like? This I'll show you on the next slide. So this would be, for example, a solution or a solution map for discrete manufacturing. And here all the different functions are shown what is capable, what are technologies which are actually can be applied in discrete manufacturing. So when we're looking here into an actual snapshot of production engineering, for example. Here we see a function could be industrial security, identification and recognition. It could be industrial communication, and so on and so forth. So again, here we're focusing on the function rather than on a solution. So we're not saying for industrial recognition and identification, RFIDs is the solution. For machine connectivity, we don't say any kind of technology, whether SMIMA is the solution. We're just saying this is a building block, this is a function which is existing, which is necessary in order to achieve operational excellence in digitalization in this value stream. So here so of course, every industry is differently, and this is, for example, the digital enterprise solution map for electronics. So what we did here, based on our experience with customers, but also from our own factories, we're actually tying in this exactly, the value stream, correlated with electronics. So here, for example, traditionally, electronics is very ECAD, MCAD heavy, or has a ECAD, MCAD flavor. So this is implemented here in the product design, for example, as well. And in the end, you have a solution we discuss with you. But of course, in the workshop, we'll tailor it to your needs, tailor it to you, to where you actually see your operations, and yeah. So it is matching for your kind of operations the way they are working. So this is how we then understand your operations and some kind of functional roadmap or functional map. So the question is then, how do we start with digitalization projects? How do we actually engage here? And this is where our actually scenarios comes in place. So a scenario is a use case, and the use case is actually explaining, for example, is explaining a use case which comes to digitalization. So for example, when we're looking here into predictive maintenance would be a use case, of course, looking into decrease maintenance, but very important, and this is what I said in the beginning, it's a digital threat approach. So digital threat approach, it means it's not only a matter of production execution, but it's also a matter of services. So both disciplines, both departments, and all the relevant stakeholders are involved here. So once we decide on the use cases, we have a look into those. So here, for example, I have an example for new product introduction. New product introduction is a very big one, since it is really throughout the whole digital thread, from product development to services. And here, for example, the project card says new product introduction is orchestrate and control the introduction of new products across organizational units. And the building blocks which are necessary is change and release management, program management, and so on and so forth, till virtual commissioning. So what we will do in a project is we're looking into all of these building blocks where you are right now. So we're looking into change and release management. How is it done today? How digital is your approach? What are your pain points? How is done your program management? So we are doing systematically, we are looking into these building blocks which are necessary in order to achieve this excellence, and identify your capabilities today, but we also identify what is the business impact, as well as we're giving you a degree of complexity. So how complex it is to actually implement it in your factory. So based on this, based on the target state, we're taking the target state, and we're actually comparing it with the as-is level. So for example, with this customer, we see that in production line control, actually he's not that far off, but in equipment analytics, which is one of the use cases he's interested, actually there is a stretch. There's a lot still to achieve in order to actually implement that one. So the next step, after we actually identified it, then we are getting a more bigger landscape on the solution. So here, what we will do then is we're actually looking into the different departments, and we correlate the departments with your actual use case you're interested in, and we tie it into systems. So this functional map, then, for example, here, performance and monitoring optimization means these are the different building blocks which would be necessary to implement it. These are the different departments which are involved, and it is in the production automation department. So you get a thorough understanding, you get a clear understanding on where actually these functions would take place, and it gives you an understanding of where I do need to implement it. Since you probably are not only looking into one use case rather than more use case, so this big block we're actually doing for all scenarios, so we tie in all the needed stakeholders and departments, and we're getting some kind of functional map on the complete thing, on the complete digital enterprise scenario you're looking into, including the different departments or systems. This results into a list of solution areas, which are nice to see, but anyway, we need to also then implement a high-level roadmap. So this high-level roadmap gives us an understanding of which are the projects we need to tackle first, second, third, because some capabilities, as you saw on the as-is target state diagram, we don't have as of yet, so we need to actually achieve this. So we need to, in this high-level roadmap, we need to bring the projects in a sensible order, and once we have it in sensible order, then we can actually start with the alignment of the strategy. So this is just for one certain customer. This is the maturity review step, so he needs to achieve 50 maturity levels in order to achieve the target state which he's looking into. The final step in the understanding level, so now we understand what are our projects, what we want to do, what is our target state, which departments are involved. So we really have a good understanding, good level of understanding. So the last step here in the understanding level is actually tying it to the strategy. So your digital strategy should be tied into your operational strategy or business strategy. So for example, here you see operational excellence is actually tied into use cases. So these use cases are actually tied into projects, and these projects are actually aligned with KPIs we need to you need to agree on from the very beginning. And finally, the alignment then gets back into strategy. So this is a nice tool to actually do the review and see, is my digitalization project actually tied into my business strategy, and is it tied into the KPIs which are of relevance? So this is what we are doing here. Of course, it cannot work only for one company, for one plant, but for different plants, since your Bay Area plant probably has different KPIs than your China plant. So this is very individually based on the plant level. So, and then you're there. So then you understand, you formulated a strategy, but however, after formulating a strategy, you still need to go into the execution, so you need to actually align it also with IT, so IT, OT functionalities, and finally you go into the realization phase. So this is level one. This is what we are currently doing with some customers. To give you a customer, actually I'm allowed to talk about, is ASML. So with ASML, we actually did this kind of exercise. So we are now a trusted advisor for them. So they really, even we are looking into the next levels, which means we are looking into the planning level. We are deciding with them on the budget, which projects actually should go in. And this is where actually they are very happy to work with us, and we did shape their digitalization strategy from that point of view, to have this interconnected disciplines or domains throughout the entire value stream. So getting back to the digital thread. So Siemens is not a consulting company, but where this idea is coming from, or where we're happy to provide this service. But in the end, also it is important to know that Siemens is also capable of actually providing you the tools. So when we're looking into product design, we are looking into DFM, DFX, we are looking into process planning, production planning, factory simulation, virtual commissioning. So I think from a software point of view, Siemens has more than 900 software suites, and from a product point of view, we can actually connect the entire plant. And since I cannot bring the entire plant here, I'm happy that here in the Bay Area, we're having actually here we go. We're actually having the Digital Experience Center in Silicon Valley. So instead of just talking products, we're actually telling a story. So the story is focusing on this product. It's one of our products, a NanoBox. It's an IoT device. And we're telling the story about the change management. So exactly what I was telling from production planning, or from design to production execution. We're showing you a story about how we actually change this, how this actually impacts then production execution, setting up SMT line, setting up the MES, and so on and so forth. So all the specific related topics around ECAD, MCAD, digital twin of production, as well as machine control and data connectivity or data analytics. We have great use cases on predictive maintenance. I have actually also brought with me. This is what we can show you there. And I'm happy that actually, as Dave said, we're able to do that tomorrow. So tomorrow there will be a bus transport from Marriott and back starting 1:30 and returning at 4 o'clock. So we have subject matter experts from all the different disciplines which are experts in their field, can tell you more about the solution you desired. We have some innovations in machine learning and VR, and I also set up some teaser workshops, not much, only 30 minutes to give you a flavor of digital consulting, of this service, of this kind of workflow. You can actually then experience hands-on. And of course, also some hors d'oeuvre and refreshments, so for your personal demands is also prepared. So I'm happy to actually talk about the consultation today, and thank you very much. And I'm looking forward to invite you tomorrow to the Digital Enterprise Experience Center in Silicon Valley. All right, thank you.